know we don't score a ton of runs to win. We're going to be good enough on the other side of the baseball. We don't have to take big risks.
Hello.
Trying to score big cricket numbers in one inning.
Evening. 7 o'clock news time.
Dead center, 15-50 home run.
We got Lucy first. Hi, Mom.
But it's rare to see. There's only a handful of teams that maybe.
Where's everybody at?
Guy over in the first or second inning. They're one of them. Yeah, in a specific spot. Yeah.
Oh, where I got the controller now? Darn it. Hey, we got Derry. Another good show we had this afternoon. I hope you got to watch it. I go, you made a wrong text earlier. I was taking my nap, my power nap.
Tigers open play 7.5 back of the division leading Cleveland Guardians, who are as hot as.
We had another great show though. Already over 200 already. I can't believe I never had over 11 shows in a row. I have over 200 people. I can't believe that. Oh, okay.
Hanging around through 50 games as the Tigers' 50th tonight. 2-2.
All right.
He knocks it down to defend himself and then windmills it onto first.
And
Oh my goodness.
got more good stuff tonight. I appreciate all the support. Keep it rolling. I hope we get our shows bigger. And I never had 11 shows in a row over 200 views. So, and appreciate all the new subs that's coming in with the new people. I'm glad everybody's finding my channel again. I think it's 1963, I think, on my subs. So, yeah, that first show was good. Again, Billy Bean came out, you guys, 18 minutes. Nothing on Mel yet. You want the window, buddy, before I start? Get up there. Come on. Uh-oh. Hang on a minute. Picture time. Don't scare him off, Chico. Wait a minute. Chico. You behave. Come on. Well, it looks like his friends are out in the back. Fire Eagle. There's only 2 of them right now.
No score, top 2, Daniel Schneemann, the batter. In today's game, I realize it's a family affair. How so? So Daniel Schneemann at the plate, and then Gage Workman playing third base for the Tigers are now related. Now, yeah, so they weren't related. Now they're related. It has to be by marriage. By marriage, okay? Yeah. So Gage Workman's wife Lexi and Daniel Schneemann's wife Allie are sisters. How cool! Gage is on the case here on Schneemann's 5-0 foul, and he's going to run out of room. Yeah, he would love to get one of those little soft fly balls over to third base. Yeah, I could put out on your brother-in-law. So I could go up to Gage before the game today. Like, hey, we'd heard that you and Schneemann are brothers-in-law. He goes, yeah, but to be clear, I married into the family first. He's the one the family really likes. He got it there first.
I text Kay. I don't know what she's up to tonight. Might be on the phone.
Guys don't get it right. The California changeup and then elevates the four-seam fastball. Schneeman couldn't lay off of it. He was still thinking about how his in-laws like Gage worked better. About his in-laws like one down for David Fry. Schneeman's a really nice weapon for them. Like outfield, infield, kind of extreme for Cleveland, you could say. Yep, got some pop too. He can run F1. Gets the ball in the field. Good athlete. 1-1 to Fry, who you may remember last year got.
Hopefully we'll get we got Samantha still, we got Angie, we got a lot of people probably lurking.
Here's Gage Workman backing up with a foot on the grass. He'll launch to first, and Colt Keith is able to reach across and secure.
Oh,
Nice pick.
I gotta get the controller. I forgot to turn the TV down.
Job by Workman. He ended up wanting to go back on the ball first to get an angle. He felt like he'd get it back at Hop. That means you got to really throw the cannon fire over to first. Colt Keith reaches the glove out, catches it. Manny Gonzalez, the first base umpire, was waiting. He didn't see the ball until he called it, but good play. Good clean out.
Found it.
Put on the back, just barely on the back end of it.
What did I do with the controller?
Juan takes a strike.
Ah.
And walked in 7 straight games.
Is that too loud, you guys, the TV?
First pitch. So it's not like he's not being aggressive at all. Hit a double later in the game, 7th inning, ended up scoring the go-ahead run. There's a move down the left field line, and that is foul. His series line compels you to say, okay, day by day, balls and strikes. StatCast 3D powered by Google Cloud. On the left is the opener.
Oh, man.
Yesterday, 14 balls, 5 strikes in the opener. And then Tuesday, 6-5. Ball to strike ratio. Everything away. Yesterday. It's on field. Base hit for Claude.
I can't believe I misplaced the controller again. Oh.
It was more inexpensive. Good baby. First pitch swing. Left side bounce here again. Rogers and Workman. Gage says, I got it. Gage is right.
I'll look for it during the show. I'm going to play the short clips.
Four Americans flew over the Cuban waters looking for Cubans that were trying to escape that horrifying regime over in Cuba. They would then notify the Coast Guard of where the rafts were so that they could be rescued. Not only did they do this, they were called Brothers to the Rescue, I believe is the name of the group. They would also fly over Cuba and drop off anti-Castro pamphlets calling for people to stand up, rise up against this horrific regime. In 1996, while they were flying over, Raul Castro ordered his military to shoot down those planes. One plane was shot down and all 4 Americans were killed. The other plane happened to make it back. I don't even remember this happening. In 1996, I was like 27 years old doing whatever I was doing. I probably remembered it, but I think it happened at a time where there was a lot going on. All these years, Raul Castro has lived his life. He is now in his 90s. He's lived a wonderful, fine life, sucking off the teat of the Cuban people. It has taken this administration, President Trump, they have just unsealed an indictment against this man. Now, I don't know if he'll ever stand trial or not, but the mamas of those boys, the girlfriends, the wives, all of these people for 30 years have received no justice, no nothing. And it took this administration going back in time to try to take care of something that no other president has taken care of. Now, y'all cry, bitch, moan, whine, say what you want to say about the president, okay? But based on those primaries yesterday, I don't think that we're going to have such a problem come the midterms. I think people are waking up. I think we're woke. The conservatives, I think we've woke up. And I think things are going to get much, much better for us as Americans. Hang in there, guys.
She sounded better tonight.
President Trump, I'm just letting you know right now. I don't know why you don't get all the credit that you deserve. You are one of the most brilliant, smartest men on this planet, if not the smartest. The things that you have done for the American people, the way that you play chess, the way that you do things that sometimes we don't understand what's happening. We question you, but it's gotten to the point now that even when I say, I wonder why he's doing what he's doing, and I say, you know what? Trust him. He knows what he's doing, and you always do. You should be on Mount Rushmore, and we should start a petition because they need to get their chainsaws out or whatever little tool they use, and they need to be chiseling out your face on Mount Rushmore. You do not get the credit that you deserve. There are 77 million of us that are literally sitting here on ready. You say it, we'll do it. You want us to vote? We're going to vote. You want us to stand up for you and march? We'll stand up and march. All you got to do is say the word. They call us cult members. They call us whatever they want to call us. We don't care anymore. They call us Razzies. So what? Radiphiles? We don't care. We still support you. We love you. We will never, ever forget you, President Trump. And it literally brings me to tears thinking about you leaving office. The fact that somebody has tried to unalive you over and over and over. And the only thing that you are doing is trying to help the American people. The TDS is so strong. And the fact that on the left, all the people on the left stand for everything that is against what is in the heart of every pure-blooded American. We stand for justice. We stand for no crime. We stand for closed borders. We want our children educated, not indoctrinated. And that is what you stand for, but suddenly that's a crime. That's wrong. And they have tried to ruin your reputation, blast you in the media, put you down. They wish for you to fail. They hope that you fail. The leader of our own country, they want to fail because they are so spoiled, rotten, and they have never, ever had to suffer. And look at these countries. Look at Cuba, who is celebrating you. Look at Venezuela, who is celebrating you. Look at Iran. The people are begging you to bomb the regime so that they can be free. They love you, and we love you, President Trump. And thank you so much for never, ever giving up and never walking away. Thank you so much for standing with us, President Trump. Thank you so much for being there for us. We love you so very much. Please remember this.
Okay, two good ones. Okay, yeah, I got a lot of short ones. Then we'll get to Billy Bean here a little bit. I got three of one new lady on TikTok. Is that British lady? Does that sound British? London?
May have been dead for 2,400 years because Xi Jinping, Obama, James Mattis, Steve Bannon, Churchill,
sure
Boris
if I
Johnson,
played
they've
this
all
or
talked
not,
about
one.
him. But this week at their summit in Beijing, Xi Jinping asked President Trump whether China and the
This was
United
4
States
days
could
ago.
transcend the so-called Thucydides trap, which is a bit of a burn if you're a nerd and you get it, and perhaps gets at one of the most dangerous questions in geopolitics today, which is what happens when a world's rising power catches up with the ruling power. So this trap is caused by mutual fear. Imagine the ruler, top dog, then imagine
Better
the
than another
challenger,
lady,
richer, stronger,
hey,
more
not
confident
one.
every year. The
Another day.
ruler gets paranoid, the challenger gets defensive, and a move by one side looks like aggression to the other. This idea comes from the eponymous Athenian general and historian Thucydides, and he was living in a time when Athens
Robert
was rising
videos.
and Sparta
Okay,
was
yeah,
established.
yeah.
He argued
No,
that the real cause of the Peloponnesian War was this fear generated by the growth of Athenian power. Then this idea was named after him in the 2010s, and it suggests that war can be inevitable. So I take their trap and I raise you a pyramid, because another theory may help explain this moment even better, and it also leaves room for outcomes other than war, and it's power transition theory from Abramo Organsky, a professor who fled Mussolini's Italy for the United States. And his point was not just that rising powers are dangerous, it's that there's this specific danger zone when parity starts to appear, when the challenger is no longer weak and the hegemon is no longer unchallenged and starts to ask itself, is tomorrow going to be worse for me than today? Interestingly, unlike balance of power theorists who propose that equal power has a better chance of preventing conflict, Organsky argues the opposite and says that a stark imbalance is actually more effective at doing that.
Okay, she has 2 new ones.
It's very simple, but once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Never trust a leader who's a little too into dead conquerors. Putin, Mussolini, Trump, Musk, Hitler, Napoleon, Zuckerberg, Xi Jinping, wildly different men, all drawn to the ancient world as a source of power and myth. The heroes that leaders choose are clues, perhaps revealing the power that someone admires or suggesting the kind of world they would build if unconstrained. A fascist doesn't usually go looking for inspiration in Greta Thunberg or a libertarian in Lenin. Napoleon studied Caesar, Alexander, and Frederick the Great, and he didn't just want to govern France, he wanted to enter history alongside those men. Hitler fixated on the warped version of Sparta that he believed and felt an affinity with Julius Caesar and Augustus. Mussolini attempted a full-throttle revival of Caesar's Rome, even adopting the fasces, the bundle of rods carried by Roman magistrates, as a symbol of his movement, where the word fascism comes from. Putin compares himself and his territorial ambitions to Peter the Great. The Atlantic reported earlier this year that Trump now aspires to be in the category of Alexander, Caesar, and Napoleon. Mark Zuckerberg has long been fascinated by Augustus, Rome's first emperor, and has drawn parallels with his Facebook empire. Plus, 2 of his children are named after Roman emperors. But not everyone who reaches for antiquity is reaching for a conqueror. George Washington admired Cato the Younger, who chose death over submission to Caesar's dictatorship. Thomas Jefferson identified as an Epicurean after Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, and historians say that this may be why he put the pursuit of happiness as a phrase into the Declaration of Independence. And Bill Clinton named Marcus Aurelius and his Meditations as the book that most influenced him apart from the Bible. So the question is not, do leaders read the classics? It's, what are they trying to authorize or ennoble through them? Obviously, a leader's hero is not a psychological assessment, but it is revealing. And definitely when people start seeing themselves in marble, bronze, and empire, the rest of us should really pay attention.
Okay, one more.
Castro, Fidel Castro's younger brother, a former Cuban president, and one of the last living architects of the Cuban Revolution. And this indictment is over the 1996 shootdown of 2 civilian planes that killed 4 men. Now, to understand what's happening in Cuba right now, I'm going to give you a pattern, a map, and a man. So the pattern is after Columbus reached Cuba in 1492 and claimed it for Spain, Cuba's history became the story of one empire replacing another. First, Spain ruled it. Britain briefly seized Havana. Then the United States helped push Spain out in 1898, then kept Cuba on a leash through military occupation. The Platt Amendment, which was enacted by the US and approved by Cuba under duress, was the catch attached to Cuban independence. So it restricted Cuba's foreign policy, it gave the US the right to intervene, and it required Cuba to lease land for American naval stations. And that is how Guantanamo Bay became a US base. Then Castro's revolution overthrew an order that was deeply tied to the US's power and capital. And then Cuba aligned with and became dependent on the Soviet Union. So Cuba has not been ignored. It was noticed too much again and again by powers larger than itself. And the map is what explains why that is, because Cuba sits just 90 miles from Florida at the mouth of the Gulf, linking sea lanes from the Caribbean, North America, and the Atlantic. So for Spain, this guarded imperial treasure fleets. For Washington, it became this strategic anxiety in America's backyard. For Moscow, it became the perfect platform for the Cold War, close enough to place nuclear missiles almost on America's doorstep in 1962. And now, as Russia revives ties, sends warships there, and China expands its industrial footprint, Washington is again treating Cuba like a strategic vulnerability, which brings us to the man. Raul Castro was never the showman that his brother Fidel was. Fidel was the voice, the myth, revolutionary theater. Raul was quieter, harder, more organizational, and openly communist, the military man who helped make the revolution durable. And he outlived almost everyone: Batista, Kennedy, Khrushchev, Nixon, the Soviet Union, even Fidel. Officially, he stepped back, but symbolically, he never disappeared. And that is one reason why this indictment matters.
She was good with her intel. Whitmer has a commercial out.
Yeah, it's very entertaining.
Wait, so the 20 million went to what? Community development or something? I asked AI to come up with the charity.
Can't play it. Music. Right, Michael? Here.
With restrooms, so I think a lot of people outside have to use the restroom. That's a violation of the open meeting law. It's point blank. It's clear. You got veterans locked outside, by the way. You guys, I sent an email to every single one of you, and Ms. Cotterman, it's good to see you, and I'm glad that you're healthy. But look, I sent an email to every single one of you. I said, requested a bigger venue. We told you guys last meeting that there was going to be more people here than the last one. There's 56 people locked outside. You guys, Mr. Fury, why was there not an accommodation? You can't say that it's commencement week at RSU, because it's not. That's over with. Or is it because you arrested someone at RSU, they told you in writing from the president that they don't want you there because you arrest citizens who speak out? Is that what happened? And I would just like to point out, the city of Claremore had court about an injunction hearing, and Mr. Heben, I don't know how much we pay you, but your pay needs to be decreased because you came to court very unprepared. And as a taxpayer to this community, it was a disgrace because I feel like a disbarred attorney should not be able to show up our taxpayer-funded city attorney in court. Another thing that I want to point out, we're just going to ram this data center through. You've had multiple people come through and tell you that they don't want this. You have a Gold Star mother in Oakland Drive neighborhood who has told you that she does not want this. You've had people, countless people tell you they don't want this and how it's going to affect them. So are you guys going to buy their property when their property value decreases $100,000 and they can't sell their property or go away? Or are we just going to make them live with it? Are we going to have this massive piece of economic development just backed up to their property and we're just going to say, screw them? This is your guys' chance to course correct, table this, deny it. I'm okay with denying it. I don't even want to table it. I'm okay with denying it. The amount of secrecy and corruption that has came along with this deal is unreal. The amount of things that have been uncovered is unreal. Like we have text messages from John Fury. I gave them all to you guys last meeting, where he communicated with Beale Infrastructure to have a subquorum meeting. He specifically stated, we'll meet in two groups with two different counselors, two different groups, to bypass the open meetings law, so that you guys don't have to. So you guys don't have quorum. You don't have to post the meeting. You don't have to post it 24 hours in advance. You don't have to do any of that. That is illegal. So the fact that we're even talking about this and that we're even having this meeting right now is unreal. I don't know how many more people have to show up and tell you they don't want this. What's it going to take? We elected you guys. This is your chance to course correct and listen to us. 56 people outside. Thank you guys. Thank you, Josh.
Okay, a board meeting there. I got 4 clips. Okay, let me know. I think these are new ones. He has one with a 2-part. The first one is 11 minutes. I can't remember. I think it's new.
Updates where we are. I know a lot of things have happened lately. I want to, I've been asked a lot of questions, and I had the interview with Captain Kyle the other day, and I think it was really important. I think that people need. So we're starting this instructional session event that we're going to be doing regularly, and really it's for individuals that don't really understand exactly what we're doing, exactly how we're doing it, and they just need more information. They need questions answered, and it creates a forum for them to do that. Plus, we're going to lead into some of the principles of how the trust operates when you actually put in a vault. Right now, we have vaults in I can't remember the county, but it's Washington, Virginia. We have county assemblies, vaults that are getting ready to transfer land in Los Angeles, California. Kalamazoo in Michigan. We have Kalamazoo, Allegan, Chippewa,
new ones,
St. Joseph's County. We are in Coville, Washington, and we are in Stevens County, Washington. We are in Sawyer County, Wisconsin, and we also have a vault set up in Charlotte County, Florida, with an access point in Sarasota County. So that's where we are now. And we have the mission that's been placed in San Antonio. So among all our other locations and sites up and down the Eastern Seaboard, or East Coast. So with that said, we're expanding. We're getting so we are going to have couriers that'll be registered in the country. We have to get them their TWIC cards. They have to operate under a TWIC card because they're United States. That makes you a United States worker, which we talked about that. And if they're going to act as couriers for the Midwest and stuff, so I won't have to directly go to all the sites, and this should quickly go a little faster. So that's kind of a gist of where we are as far as that goes. And as far as the instructional sessions that are going to start here probably next week, we're going to get a schedule. We're working on a schedule right now. And this is gonna be, like I said, educational. It's gonna be how the trust works, how they operate. Not only that, it's gonna go into the fundamental principles of expectations for individuals that are in the trust, so you don't get yourself in trouble and you end up getting discharged from the trust as an individual. So because we're letting people in, but you have to maintain a certain level standard. And so interesting, I had a conversation with a gentleman who was a fire chief, and we had a conversation yesterday. It was introduced, and this fire chief is having a lot of problems with the county that he's at. The county is trying to interfere in his services, and I advised him that we are working to get his services under a national jurisdiction. And he said, he's been arguing with the chief prosecutor with the county and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, well, our goal is to make it so you're not going to argue with the chief prosecutor. The chief prosecutor is going to argue with the judge advocate. And you can go on about doing your emergency incident services that you do. He asked me about, because their system's divided with EMS and fire. Fire falls under the U.S. Fire Service, which is basically the U.S. Park Service, technically. But it all comes under the National Incident Management Plan, which is where we're organizing all of our stuff through the Department of Interior, which is how we got out of the federal government, got away from them, and got into North America. So, by the way, that's where the data centers are, is in North America. They're national data centers. So that's why there's so much chaos, because the counties and the states are losing control of utilities. We'll get into that in a second. I want to stick on this I want to stick on the fire service. So emergency incident response and law enforcement, we're intending to nationalize. Actually, law enforcement looks like it's going to become hemispherical with the U.S. Marine Corps. That'll be our highest superior oversight law enforcement mechanism. And then our equity system through the Army will be our emergency incident response, which will be our national incident management system. But it'll all come through the Army, through the Marine Corps, domestically, continentally, nationally, and regionally, right down to the districts. So funding for emergency incident response will be moved out of the local, state, county, and these NGOs that are basically trade unions. By the way, that's what the American Bar Association is. It's a social civil NGO trade union. That's technically what they are, according to the Organization of American States. So they're a trade union. That's all they are. There was no one else in that space. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with as an international bar, is going to have to deal with the trade unions that have been basically conducting warfare on their members and their failure to exercise human rights, which is a whole nother animal that's happening now for U.S. workers. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about so the data centers. Let's finish this up with the data centers. I had talked a long time ago, for those of you that followed me, about international common law and how international common law is going to be synchronized to AI. Okay, and this is stuff that's been coming down, and I've been talking about it. And I've been talking about international law inside the United States for a long time. I've been talking about changing of the guard, a reordering of world powers under a global economic and global international human rights process mechanism, basically taking the Nuremberg courts and the Nuremberg trials globally and getting them all the way into local communities. And that's really been the goal. A lot of things come into that, and these AI data centers are important. The reason they're important is because without a data center attached to your community, when you have your trials by jury, we need the data center, we need the AI. So the verdict comes out and that criteria is hit. And let's say that trial by jury, an individual is deemed uninsurable, unbondable, untrustable, right? You get all three of those, right? So you take an individual like one of these 19 people for Charlotte County government, you put them in a 7th Amendment court in front of a bunch of American veterans. They get tried for their behavior based on their actions post July 2020, which is when USMCA treaty acquired worker rights, and their behavior is now weighed against American veterans or disabled veterans who are Americans. And it's determined by verdict that this individual's untrustable, unbondable, uninsurable. Okay. Well, as soon as that verdict goes down, that has to synchronize to they're not allowed to own property. They're not allowed to own any businesses. They're not allowed to be notaries. They're not allowed to have financial licenses. They're not allowed to have professional licenses. They're not allowed. They might lose their passport. They might lose any worker rights they have. Their TWIC cards will get, when they get them, they'll get removed automatically. And should they be subject to trying to evade, it'll shut down their passports and their IDs. We need a national network to be able to shut down the whole hemisphere for that individual so that they can be tracked, found, and put in their proper community restrained institution or facility, wherever they're headed. So that has to be synchronized to a synthesized or synchronized to a network. The data centers do it. The other thing that the data centers do is they nationalize the utilities. Okay, so the water, the power, network, electronics, communications, all get nationalized along with the hospitals and healthcare, so that the counties, the states, the insurance companies, the profiteers no longer have authority over those. And that's why there's so much controversy. That's why they're losing their mind, because the last thing they have been profiting off the people's energy and the people's utilities and the people's communications lines that they have paid for, and no more. Okay. So I hope this explains it. I hope I get that across. These data centers are really how your international common law is going to go into force. Okay. Without those data centers, international common law cannot take effect, and you cannot have a mechanism of force to hunt these people down who are nefarious, who are douchebags, and put them where they belong. Okay? It would just take so much time. All right? Because you got to sort through however many credentials they've gotten, however much stuff. All that stuff has to be shut down and compartmentalized once that individual is declared untrustworthy. And that's how we got to hunt them down. So I hope this explains it. God bless.
Yeah, that's the first one. Oh. This is 7 minutes.
A little bit about the instructional sessions. So you guys who have been following me, you understand what kind of what we're doing, that we're putting in private trust vaults under a general trust, under a umbrella trust that has capacity all the way to the Department of Energy. Okay. Here's the problem. Okay. And I want to explain this. We have openly declared that we intend to go to war with the American Bar Association and the trade unions. All right. Especially when it comes to in-house councils and their influence over public government and public policy, and their coordination with their facilitated trade American Bar Association trade union judges and magistrates and officers, okay, that are actually just a foreign trade union. Okay, now we've said this, okay? You would think after saying this, we would get some kind of letter, some kind of notice, a cease and desist, some kind of contact telling us that we better stop, or we're going to have to go to court, or they're going to sue us for defamation. They're going to say something. Do you know what I have heard about from the international bar dipshittery since all this started? Since I said that? Nothing. You know why? They don't have the authority. They don't have the power. When the Republican Assembly Charlotte County was being harassed by the Republican Party attorneys to give up their RACC 1776 domain, and I made appearance, and I contacted them and told them that organization is now a private organization, and they don't have jurisdiction. If they have a problem, we can take it through the International Bar Association to the Organization of American States. You know what happened? Crickets. Never heard another word. Okay. When I went and Donald Trump was getting sued repeatedly by attorney generals that had taken special counsels, and I sent an email making appearance and sponsoring Donald Trump as a American veteran, served 4 years as commander-in-chief, and a private individual protected class, not under federal jurisdiction and not subject to any federal court. Do you know what happened? 6 hours. Every case was dropped, except for that dipshit Letitia James up in New York that I want to see have her ass handed to her. Okay? Every other one of them was dropped, and her cases even went away eventually too. 6 hours. How many times has Donald Trump been harassed by an attorney general or anybody in the federal government since the 6 hours after I sent that email? None. Okay? Because he's an international law, and he's unfuckwithable. Okay? That's why when Elon Musk was doging everything, they were going after Elon Musk, because they weren't going after Donald Trump, because they can't talk to him anymore. Okay? So they try to go after somebody else. All right? That is the same representation that we are bringing to this trust. The problem is we are going after the in-house councils in the counties, in the special districts, okay? Where the law is, where the land records are, where the probate records are, where the clerks of court are. We have to have something to replace what is being taken out. If the in-house counsel for the American Bar Association is being removed, we have to provide some sort of administrative counsel, a tribunal, an assembly tribunal, to be able to put in its place to act on behalf of the inhabitants for that jurisdiction, which is why the vaults need to be in place, which is why this stuff needs to be in place. And that's the stuff that we're going to go through in these instructional sessions. We have to get people comfortable with understanding this is under international law. There's nothing illegal about it. You are not going to be harassed. You are not going to be messed with. Everybody that is associated with this organization has not been harassed, because we are doing it right. We are doing it lawfully, and we are under a trust that is under guardianship by the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine Corps. But we have to get people comfortable, because there are 3,044 counties in the United States of America, and every single one of those counties has to have a vault. Okay? We have to get the language comfortable. We have to get the questions answered. We have to get people comfortable understanding they are forming up their own private, internationally sponsored, North American American religious establishment for their community, because they will be taking the role of administrator and replacing the in-house councils when it comes to decisions by the commissioners, by the school boards, and creating subcommittees thereof. You have to replace it with something. These people got into power because the American people stopped paying attention and did not have their American religious establishment institutions properly organized and properly put in force. So that's what these instructional sessions are for. That's what you're going to be learning. That's what you're going to be working on. We are not going to sit on conference call for 5 hours and do nothing. This is an action-oriented institution, and it will be action-oriented. Okay? So God bless and Godspeed.
Okay, 2 more with him, and we got Billy Bean will be next. Billy is 18 minutes.
Happened lately. I want to, I've been asked a lot of questions.
I missed one.
And I had the interview with Captain Kyle the other day, and I think it was really important. I think that people need. So we're starting this instructional session event that we're going to be doing regularly, and really it's for individuals.
Is that the same one?
That don't really understand exactly what we're doing, exactly how we're doing it, and they just need more information. They need questions answered, and it creates a forum for them to do that. Plus, we're going to lead into some of the principles of how the trust operates when you actually put in a vault. Right now, we have vaults in, I can't remember the county, but it's Washington, Virginia. We have county assemblies, vaults that are getting ready to transfer land in Los Angeles, California, Kalamazoo. In Michigan, we have Kalamazoo, Allegan, Chippewa, and St. Joseph's County. We are in Coville, Washington, and we are in Stevens County, Washington. We are in Sawyer County, Wisconsin, and we also have a vault set up in Charlotte County, Florida, with an access point in Sarasota County. So that's where we are now. And we have the mission that's been placed in San Antonio. So among all our other locations and sites up and down the Eastern Seaboard, or East Coast. So with that said, we're expanding. We're getting, so we are going to have couriers that'll be registered in the country. We have to get them their TWIC cards. They have to operate under a TWIC card because they're United States. That makes you a United States worker, which we talked about that. And if they're going to act as couriers for the Midwest and stuff, so I won't have to directly go to all the sites, and this should quickly go a little faster. So that's kind of a gist of where we are as far as that goes. And as far as the instructional sessions that are going to start here probably next week, we're going to get a schedule. We're working on a schedule right now. And this is gonna be, like I said, educational. It's gonna be how the trust works, how they operate. Not only that, it's gonna go into the fundamental principles of expectations for individuals that are in the trust, so you don't get yourself in trouble and you end up getting discharged from the trust as an individual. So because we're letting people in, but you have to maintain
Happy
a
Wednesday,
certain level of
everybody,
standard.
Glad you made it.
And
we had a good show this
interesting,
afternoon.
I had a conversation with a gentleman who was a fire chief, and we had a conversation yesterday. It was introduced, and this fire chief is having a lot of problems with the county that he's at. The county is trying to interfere in his services, and I advised him that we are working to get his services under a national jurisdiction. And he said, he's been arguing with the chief prosecutor with the county and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, well, our goal is to make it so you're not going to argue with the chief prosecutor. The chief prosecutor is going to argue with the judge advocate. And you can go on about doing your emergency incident services that you do. He asked me about their system's divided with EMS and fire. Fire falls under the U.S. Fire Service, which is basically the U.S. Park Service, technically. But it all comes under the National Incident Management Plan, which is where we're organizing all of our stuff, the Department of Interior, which is how we got out of the federal government, got away from them, and got into North America. So, by the way, that's where the data centers are, is in North America. They're national data centers. So that's why there's so much chaos, because the counties and the states are losing control of utilities. We'll get into that in a second. I want to stick on this I want to stick on the fire service. So emergency incident response and law enforcement, we're intending to nationalize. Actually, law enforcement looks like it's going to become hemispherical with the U.S. Marine Corps. That'll be our highest superior oversight law enforcement mechanism. And then our equity system through the Army will be our emergency incident response, which will be our national incident management system. But it'll all come through the Army, through the Marine Corps, domestically, continentally, nationally, and regionally, right down to the districts. So funding for emergency incident response will be moved out of the local, state, county, and these NGOs that are basically trade unions. By the way, that's what the American Bar Association is. It's a social civil NGO trade union. That's technically what they are, according to the Organization of American States. So they're a trade union. That's all they are. There was no one else in that space. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with as an international bar, is going to have to deal with the trade unions that have been basically conducting warfare on their members and their failure to exercise human rights, which is a whole nother animal that's happening now for U.S. workers. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about so the data centers. Let's get into it. Finish this up with the data centers. I had talked a long time ago, for those of you that followed me, about international common law and how international common law is going to be synchronized to AI. Okay, and this is stuff that's been coming down, and I've been talking about it. And I've been talking about international law inside the United States for a long time. I've been talking about changing of the guard, a reordering of world powers under a global economic and global international human rights process mechanism, basically taking the Nuremberg courts and the Nuremberg trials globally and getting them all the way into local communities. And that's really been the goal. A lot of things come into that, and these AI data centers are important. The reason they're important is because without a data center attached to your community, when you have your trials by jury, we need the data center, we need the AI, so the verdict comes out and that criteria is hit. And let's say that trial by jury, an individual is deemed uninsurable, unbondable, untrustable, right? You get all three of those, right? So you take an individual like one of these 19 people for Charlotte County government, you put them in a 7th Amendment court in front of a bunch of American veterans. They get tried for their behavior based on their actions post July 2020, which is when USMCA treaty acquired worker rights, and their behavior is now weighed against American veterans or disabled veterans who are Americans. And it's determined by verdict that this individual's untrustable, unbondable, uninsurable. Okay. Well, as soon as that verdict goes down, that has to synchronize to they're not allowed to own property. They're not allowed to own any businesses. They're not allowed to be notaries. They're not allowed to have financial licenses. They're not allowed to have professional licenses. They're not allowed. They might lose their passport. They might lose any worker rights they have. Their TWIC cards will get, when they get them, they'll get removed automatically. And should they be subject to trying to evade, it'll shut down their passports and their IDs. We need a national network to be able to shut down the whole hemisphere for that individual so that they can be tracked, found, and put in their proper community restrained institution or facility, wherever they're headed. So that has to be synchronized to a synthesized or synchronized to a network. The data centers do it. The other thing that the data centers do is they nationalize the utilities. Okay, so the water, the power, network, electronics, communications, all get nationalized along with the hospitals and healthcare, so that the counties, the states, the insurance companies, the profiteers no longer have authority over those. And that's why there's so much controversy. That's why they're losing their mind, because the last thing they have been profiting off the people's energy and the people's utilities and the people's communications lines that they have paid for, and no more. Okay. So I hope this explains it. I hope I get that across. These data centers are really how your international common law is going to go into force. Okay. Without those data centers, international common law cannot take effect, and you cannot have a mechanism of force to hunt these people down who are nefarious, who are douchebags, and put them where they belong. Okay? It would just take so much time. All right? Because you got to sort through however many credentials they've gotten, however much stuff. All that stuff has to be shut down and compartmentalized once that individual is declared untrustworthy. And that's how we got to hunt them down. So I hope this explains it. God bless. Godspeed.
Okay, one more. We have 4 of them. But we haven't heard him in a while. This one is about 6 minutes. Oh, maybe I won't be able to get it.
What's up, everybody? So something happened today that was kind of cool, and it was enlightening, and I wanted to share it with you. So, if you go back through our organization, you start going through the library and the archives, you start growing an understanding of the progression and the expansion and the things that we've done and the wins that we've had and the growth and all the stuff that we've done, right? And it was interesting because the guy that I was friends with, he had taken me. Well, let's talk about this. So about a little over a year ago, actually, we were on the phone and he was in a really bad place. And it was one of those moments where I felt that he was headed down a road that was not going to be good. It was not healthy. And I just had to be honest with him, and I had to tell him the truth. And I made him so angry that he actually, got angry. He started yelling at me, telling me, I was a piece of shit and blah, 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 because he was frustrated and angry and never wanted to talk to me again, whatever else. And he reached out to me today. And it's funny because the first thing he said was, I want to apologize for the way I talked to you. I was angry and I was this and I was that. And I said, apology accepted. And he goes, okay. And I said, I want to tell you something. When everything went down, I saw that you were in a place and you were headed down a road and you were like off track. Like you were headed down a place that I didn't think you needed to go. And I thought it was not good. And I challenged you on purpose. I purposely pissed you off. I purposely put you in the spot you were going to have to face the hard truth, and it was not good and it was hard. And I did it on purpose. I didn't do it because I didn't care. I did it because I did care. So I apologize that I felt that it was necessary to do that. But as someone who cares about you and your friend, I have to do that. That's my job. That's my responsibility when I see you headed that road. And if you go down that road, you're going alone. I'm not going with you. Okay? So we talked for a few minutes. Well, then we started catching up on where we've been over the course of the last 14, 15 months. Now, this guy is a member of these organizations with like Tom Sykes and Roger Dowdell and Destry Payne. And he's been in this thing for years and years. He's been going to these meetings. He actually took me to a meeting down in Sarasota where Tom Sykes, I was there. It was my first time. He wanted me to participate. He wanted me to get an idea. Tom Sykes was selling some bullshit pitch about, setting up a grand jury that they're going to arrest the sheriff or some crazy shit. And Tom Sykes got so uncomfortable with me in the room that he actually told me it was a private meeting and I have to leave. Made me leave after I was invited, sponsored by this individual that was a member. You want me to hear the stuff that was being said and whatever else, right? So, of course, I left, But it was fascinating because I was invited by a member. Like, he sponsored me. Like, I'm here. Nope, there's a private meeting. You have to leave. You're not a member. And I'm like, wow, that's not dictation. That's not a dictator. The members are supposed to own this. If the members sponsor an individual in, like, you have no say. You're there on to operate on their behalf. Like, that's what representation is. But whatever, I left. So, but as we were talking, I realized, and he's going, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, he didn't know. He didn't know about the growth. He didn't know about anything. And I realized they're still where they were a year and a half ago. They haven't grown at all. They've done anything. They're still the same meetings, the same crap, the same garbage, the same everything. Nothing moving forward, nothing being done, nothing growth, nothing. I'm like, how do you stay that stagnant for years? But that's I would venture to say that the groups that I examined before I started this, I would say they're probably all either dissolved or in the same place because they're not going anywhere and doing anything. So, but I wanted to talk about that. I want to talk about how crazy it is that 15 months, if you go back to our archive and all the growth and all the stuff that we've done and all the things we've done.
Multi-Troy, sorry I missed you.
And there's still people out there.
We'll probably have one tomorrow.
And they haven't moved an inch. And those people, I believe I was referred to as the one who cannot be named. I've heard that one before. So, if you're part of this is an action-oriented institution. We're moving forward. We're growing. We're expanding. We're proceeding. We're progressing, and we're gonna get it done. So I just wanted to share that. God bless. Godspeed.
Okay, we're caught up with Robert there. We got 4 good ones out. Now it's Billy Bean is 18 minutes. I'll go to 9 o'clock tonight. Stop. Just a minute.
and share. Some of the things we'll cover: U.S. intel, President Trump, 37. Iran sanctions hit London, and Iran says it will hit beyond the Middle East. So let's get started. We have an earthquake today, according to Mary Greeley. It hit the Yurok Island in the Japanese island chain about noon today. It was 26 miles deep, a magnitude 5. And we have this from U.S. Intel. So we're seeing the Middle East, Strait of Hormuz closed, dragging down global oil and gas supplies. So in Germany, their natural gas supply is down to about 30%. In the Netherlands, it's down to about 12.5%. And we have this, that the Iranian speaker, Ghalibaf, who was recently named the Iranian envoy to China, says that all covert and overt U.S. military moves appear to indicate the U.S. will soon restart the war. And that Ghalibaf says the armed forces of Iran used the ceasefire to rebuild. And that earlier this morning, the IRGC made an announcement. If the U.S. and Israel hit Iran again, Iran will expand the war beyond the Middle East. And we have no clarification on what that means. We have this from Stephen Gardner. President Trump in the Tuesday primaries across the U.S. in multiple, I believe 6 states, was 37 for 37 wins in all of his candidates who he endorsed winning. So way to go, President Trump. And we have this from Benny Johnson. Yes, in Georgia, we had Brad Raffensperger running for governor. And he was beaten out by the individual President Trump endorsed, Burt Jones. And this Raffensperger had been Secretary of State for Georgia and is seriously indicated in the 2020 election fraud that took place in Georgia. And we have this, that President Trump, is 37 for 37. So way to go, President Trump. We have this from J.D. Vance, who's heading up a fraud task force that the U.S. government, Medicare, Medicaid, under Dr. Oz's arm, will freeze to California $1.3 billion in Medicare, Medicaid funds. He announced that today. And the U.S. government is currently involved in an audit of all states, and particularly in California. And the U.S. government will freeze or cut back on all funds to states who do not have a state mechanism in place to check for fraud in using federal money. So California is cut off from $1.3 billion, effective immediately. We have some good news about California. California has restored 47,000 acres to the Yurok tribe. That includes land along the Klamath River. So that's going on. And we have this. We have Yeah. What's going on with the AI data centers in Texas? There was supposed to be a vote in Fort Worth for an AI data center in that area, but it was pulled last night for vote due to pushback by the citizens. And we're hearing that all of North Texas, many citizen groups are pushing back on more AI data centers in North Texas. So that's going on. And we're hearing this
12 minutes.
from David Nino Rodriguez. President Trump had put forth a bill some time ago for the U.S. to begin mining its own rare earth minerals, including tungsten, that's used in
No volume.
big tech and the U.S. military, called Project Vault. And that we have, regarding Venezuela, Maduro, who is now locked up in the U.S. and is singing like a canary and giving additional names for the U.S. 2020 presidential election coup. So that's going on. And it's believed that the DOJ soon will be indicting individuals involved in this voter fraud in 2020, including members of Congress. So that's going on. And we have this. We have reports from Washington, D.C. that the DOJ is ready to indict many who are associated with financial fraud, shell companies, and including Smartmatic, which was the software used on the Dominion vote counting machines. Smartmatic and the Dominion machines apparently were designed by engineers in Venezuela. So we see Venezuela directly tied to the 2020 U.S. presidential coup. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah. We have also that involved in what President Trump is doing on a global basis, Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, so far, ties in the deep state city of London and also the UK. And also Spain is involved with its banks that have been engaged in laundering money. And Maduro is giving information regarding Spain and Cuba, as well as Venezuela. So that's going on. We have this about the IRGC in Iran, that the IRGC owns tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate in the UK. The UK has no provisions against the IRGC coming into the UK and has not named the IRGC a terrorist group. So that's going on. And we have this from Bushcraft Bear, who is now living in Estonia, a Baltic state, saying that they are reaping the effects of drones in Estonia. We know that Ukraine is now using the airspace of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania to hit Russia. But Russia is blocking that with electronic warfare. Therefore, many of the Ukraine drones are going into the Baltic states and destroying property. Now, Bushcraft Bear says something unusual happened today about midday, that it was put out to the people of Lithuania that a drone was inbound, but for the first time ever, The people were told to go to underground shelters. So that's going on. And we have this. So a big part of what's going on between the U.S. and the U.K. and the deep state city of London is that in 1928, the U.K. began to sponsor, via the deep state, the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood includes Hezbollah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the U.S. Is now aiming at taking out the Muslim Brotherhood was begun and now funded and directed by the U.K., including Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terrorist groups. It's part of the economic epic fury. We have Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, now talking about taking down shell companies, banks that launder money, and so on, associated with the Muslim Brotherhood.
Imagine turning this single $100 bill into $100,000. Now that may sound crazy, but that's actually Elon Musk's prediction for his upcoming SpaceX IPO. He's predicting that anybody who invests in SpaceX today before it goes public is going to have a chance to make 1,000 times their money. And that would turn $100 into 100,000. $500 would turn into $500,000, and a tiny stake of 1,000 into $1 million. Now, here's the really good news for you. Normally, these types of IPO opportunities would only be available.
And that the sanctions on Iran are now hitting many companies based in the UK. That's because the UK is behind Iran and deeply entangled in all of their financial moves. So this includes the company Musavan, which the IRGC uses to fund Hezbollah. It's based in London. Thriving International, which is based in London, Exchange. It's also a financial arm of Iran to fund terrorism, based in London. The Global Fortune Shipping, and also Science Obedient International, both companies that operate tankers for Iran, also based in London. And we have the company, the Sparking Courage Limited, also a tanker company based in the British Virgin Islands. So we see that the U.S. hitting Iran is also hitting the deep state in the City of London, as well as the U.K. All of this information is coming out from Promethean Update. And President Trump is put out an executive order in the last couple of days, targeting foreign terrorist organizations under the umbrella of the Muslim Brotherhood. And their objective, the Muslim Brotherhood, is to kill or enslave all non-Muslims, bring back the caliphate. And we have this. We have that President Trump's executive order targets the Muslim Brotherhood, especially bases in Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon, and designating them as foreign terrorist organizations. And all of these operate under the umbrella of the Muslim Brotherhood that's operated by the UK, the MI6, and the deep state City of London. And we have this. We have that the DOJ is now ready to indict Raul Castro, and it appears to me, based on what I saw today, We had a statement by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. We had statements by senators and representatives from Florida regarding Cuba. It does appear that their DOJ is ready to indict Raul Castro for the shooting down of 2 U.S. planes about 30 years ago. And as I said in my previous video, the CIA has an audio recording of Raul Castro, then Minister of Defense, giving the order to shoot down the U.S. planes that were operating over international waters. And that killed 3 Americans and 1 American resident. And we have this. Yeah, so in President Trump's hit on Iran and Scott Bessett's putting forth the Iranian sanctions are designed to hit UK, shell companies, shadow banking, and drug cartels. It appears the UK is also directly tied to the cartels in South America. With regard to the cartels, we had an arrest in the past day or so of a Trinidad leader who was extradited from Colombia. We had May 18 in Puerto Rico. We had 23 indictments of La Familia Naca Mayer, a cartel group, and their charges are racketeering. And we have the Sinaloa governor, that's in Mexico. Sinaloa is a name of a cartel, but it's also the name of a geographic area. The governor has now been indicted by the Southern District Federal Court in New York, who was supported by Al Chapo's sons, who killed his political opponents. So we see the U.S. gearing up to hit Iran again, and that hitting Iran and also Venezuela is also hitting the deep state based in London as well as the UK. And it appears that the U.S. plans to make strong moves against Cuba very shortly, as well as Iran. And now a short prayer. This is based on Deuteronomy 25. We pray, Father, in the name of Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, that you bless America in winning over all the lands you have given us to conquer for the benefit of your people who live in these lands. And we pray, Father, that you give into the hands of America, Iran, Cuba, South America, Greenland, plus, as you move upon America to set these lands aright in the sight of God. And we say thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, we're caught up with Billy. Short videos again till it finish off. No big ones tonight.
President Trump from within the White Hat community has some of its fighting forces wondering whether 47 still deserves their support and fidelity, according to conversations Real Raw News had with 4 Special Operations community members who participated in deep state takedowns. They said they speak for grunts with their ass in the grass, not for people such as Generals Eric M. Smith and David Bly, who, for obvious reasons, won't openly criticize Trump even if his actions befuddle them. The opinions we're hearing now sharply contrast with those we heard only 60 days ago at the start of the Iran war, when white hats involved in anti-deep state operations got retasked to the Middle East. At the time, the 50 or so white hats we spoke with overwhelmingly endorsed decapitating Iran's leadership, but they also believed, per Trump's words, the conflict would last 2 weeks and that they'd soon return home to resume fighting the enemy within. Instead, they're stuck on ships and hearing mixed messages. One day they're told, prepare for Iwo Jima 2.0, and then that they might be stuck in the Middle East through the end of 2027. While it might seem uncharacteristic for Marines to feel aggrieved, they are bred to fight, and languishing on board ships, playing countless hands of poker and spades, rather than storming the beaches, has fostered a creeping restlessness. Especially as their anxious families in the U.S. feel the pinch of a stagnating economy. A tin of generic coffee costs $16. The price of beef has skyrocketed. Fuel and fertilizer are unaffordable. And President Trump said he don't think about Americans' financial situation, not even a little bit, when contemplating his moves against Iran. I only care that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, he said. Whether Iran was truly close to manufacturing a nuke or a delivery vehicle is beyond the scope of this article. Nonetheless, Trump's rash remark engendered rampant rage. So, why are we fighting his war of choice when he doesn't give two fucks about us? This shit's messing with our heads. If POTUS loves Israel so much, he should move there, maybe take Netanyahu's place. We've been following the plan since 2015, and we get this, said a U.S. Marine Scout sniper who had taken part in 2 deep state arrests. The 4 spec ops to whom we spoke uniformly agreed that President Trump has undergone a bizarre metamorphosis since he first took office in January 2017, when he fixed Obama's broken economy, skillfully avoided getting the U.S. enmeshed in foreign wars, grew the MAGA movement, deftly canceled inequitable trade agreements, muscled China, and fought for America's middle class. He embodied the phrase, America first, and was unequivocally winning. The economy stalled in early 2020, but blame for that falls on the pandemic and its planners, not on President Trump. After Biden stole the 2020 election, he and his handlers rapidly bulldozed Trump's successes, subverting the Constitution and inadvertently causing large swaths of the armed forces to side against them. Today, sources say, POTUS seems more interested in appeasing Israel and posting AI slop to Truth Social than in easing inflation and purging the swamp. He's either out of touch or lost his touch, another source said. If anyone says going to war with Iran or $5 gas is part of the plan, I don't buy it. Is he manipulated? Dementia? Maybe? Who the hell knows? One sure thing, his personality changed. Trump's objectives, they say, have shifted diametrically, and his preoccupation with Iran has caused a case of tunnel vision so severe that he can't see the forest through the trees, a metaphor for the deep state entrenching in his midst. Not name-dropping anyone, but we know there are people in the White House, in the DOJ, that have told President Trump to back off arresting people we've had on our eyes on. MAGA isn't always MAGA. Patriots aren't always patriots. People with good intentions get blinded by ambition or money, and unwittingly turn into deep state pawns, a third source said. Not all white hats, naturally, feel aggrieved. When we saw comments from General Smith's office, his adjunct told us, anyone questioning President Trump's patriotism needs a checkup from the neck up. Trust the plan. What's going on in Iran? It's deeper than you know. Does what he says or posts sound crazy? Listen to me. Embedded in the president's posts and remarks are hidden messages only we can decipher. If Kamala Harris won, that bitch would have put us in a nuclear war. President Trump has stopped 3 from happening. That's America first. We have no corporate advertisers, nor billionaire philanthropists looking to support efforts to expose the deep state's evil agenda. Every donation, irrespective of the amount, is appreciated and helps ensure our survival in these perilous times. We need to pull 2000.
Okay, 2 more raw news.
New human caravans form south of the border. Published by Real Raw News. The Trump administration's reduction in mass immigration raids has emboldened Central and South Americans to once again form human caravans and march north toward the Texas-Mexico border, according to a Texas National Guard intelligence officer assigned to Operation Lone Star, which pairs the National Guard with the Texas Department of Public Safety and U.S. Border Patrol. In early 2021, after the criminal Biden regime stole the presidential election and dismantled sections of President Trump's border wall, tens of thousands of foreigners, violent criminals among them, gathered en masse in Mexico, Guatemala, and Ecuador. These groups had a common goal: to embark on an arduous journey ending at places such as Eagle Pass, Texas, to sneak past or overwhelm Border Patrol agents, and to mooch America's resources. In their parasitical eyes, the United States was a gold mine. Free health care, food stamps, and charitable religious organizations await them. They brought with them only the clothes on their backs, a propensity for violence, and myriad communicable diseases. In 2025, President Trump ended all that. Under his renewed leadership, breaches in the border wall got repaired, and an improved, properly funded ICE struck fear into illegals in the United States and would-be illegals abroad. Trump's message was clear: the United States was closed and inhospitable to illegal aliens. As ICE conducted visible, sweeping raids in democratic cities rife with pestilence, the human caravans south of the border abruptly stopped. It was safer to stay home, they apparently decided, than to hop the border and wind up in an ICE internment camp. At the conclusion of ICE's Operation Metro Surge, during which ICE clashed not only with illegals but also with throngs of paid protesters, the agency underwent changes in leadership and tactics, ostensibly over the public's condemnation of ICE tear-gassing paid rioters and the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Instead of swarming streets in a dramatic show of force, ICE reduced its visibility by launching smaller, selective assaults on known criminals and final deportation order violators. Today, ICE arrests scarcely make news. Our unneighborly neighbors south of the border apparently believe Trump's gone soft on immigration crackdowns and that he won't restart across-the-board raids for fear such a move will hurt Republicans in the midterms and the 2028 election. We're getting reports of Guatemalans massing in San Benito, Guatemala. 600 strong, all males, and growing. Our intelligence suggests they're waiting for 2,000 more to start trekking our way. It sure ain't some sightseeing group going on a month-long hike through the Darien Gap. Trespassers think they're gonna exploit what they think is a chink in Trump's armor. Even if they try, we know from past experience these caravans, they start falling apart a few hundred miles down the road. Some get sick or run out of food and quit. Others drop dead or just can't hump the journey. So, 3,000 is 1,500 by the time they reach our borders. But that's still a lot. If a fraction of that 1,500 gets in, it encourages more to make the attempt, our source said. He added that Border Patrol currently uses human and signals intelligence to watch for potential incursions. On May 12, a drone overflying city of Guanajuato in central Mexico photographed approximately 350 shady males in a municipal park. Some held cardboard signs with handwriting that read, "Partimos hacia los Estados Unidos, we leave for the USA." According to our source, 11 of them are prior deportees. Of course, we have a database. Histories, criminal records, photos, the whole 9 yards. So what we see isn't up for debate. Undesirables that snuck into our country got deported by Trump, and now want back in cause they think ICE isn't looking. We work hard securing our side. When that Biden guy tried stopping us from laying razor wire in the Rio Grande, we sent his thugs packing. Trump's done an amazing job, really amazing, but he shouldn't be limiting ICE. More ICE on the streets of cities infested with illegals means less degenerates scaling the fence. There's a pure connection, our source said. In closing, he noted CBP is on high alert for a resumption of human caravans and is fully prepared to employ applicable force to repel suicidal fence jumpers. We have no corporate advertisers, nor billionaire philanthropists looking to support efforts to expose the deep state's evil agenda. Every donation, irrespective of the amount, is appreciated and helps ensure our survival in these perilous times.
Okay, one more real new one. Good. This one's Gitmo is next. Thought I had one. Gitmo. Where is it? 4 minutes.
Battle Stations Gitmo. Published by Real Raw News. Phalanx cannons that fire 6,000 rounds per minute. THAAD and Patriot missile batteries. Littoral and Arleigh Burke-class warships. A turret-mounted laser that recycles rapidly. Evacuating non-mission essential contractors and dependents of armed forces personnel. These defensive measures and more are occurring at Gitmo amid creeping fears that fuel-starved Cuba might retaliate against the United States by launching an armada of inexpensive attack drones at the naval station. Cuba is in the dark. Its primary fuel supplier was Venezuela. After the U.S. overthrew Nicolas Maduro, imposed a naval blockade, and seized Venezuela's vast oil fields, Cuba was caught in a stranglehold, unable to replenish its shrinking reserves. Cascading blackouts have left millions without power, and even food is in short supply. Abandoned cars now clog Havana's once bustling streets, and once neighborly citizens have set upon each other like packs of hungry wolves. Families enjoying backyard barbecues are non-existent. Now, they've turned cutthroat, combatively fighting for morsels of food or dribbles of gasoline. Cuba's government keeps tight control over what little gas and diesel remain and isn't sharing them with the public. The crisis has worsened drastically since Real Raw News in March published an article about Cubans sneaking onto Gitmo to steal diesel to power home generators. Right or wrong, the perpetrators were released, RRN learned afterward. Since then, throngs of Cubans have amassed on Cuba's side of the fence line, chanting "Death to Donald Trump," and daring U.S. Marines on America's side of the fence to shoot them. This dramatic escalation is far more severe than is publicly known. On May 9th, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, War Secretary Pete Hegseth, and DNI honcho Tulsi Gabbard met in the SCIF, a highly secure, accredited room or building used by the U.S. government, military, and defense contractors to securely store, discuss, and process top-secret and sensitive compartmented information, to discuss a clear and present danger to U.S. forces at Gitmo. According to Gabbard, Cuba had somehow, in spite of the naval blockade, acquired more than 3,000 Ukrainian and Iranian attack drones, specifically Ukraine's homegrown RS-1 bars and Iran's Shahed suicide drones. Per a Gitmo source, the alphabet agencies had obtained satellite imagery of drones being moved from ports of Havana and Trinidad to strategic launch positions only a few miles from Gitmo. If launched, the drones could shower Gitmo with little or no warning time. According to our sources, Hegseth recommended a preemptive strike. Standoff JDAM bombs and cruise missiles could obliterate launch sites and drone-filled warehouses before Cuba's leader, the communist Miguel Díaz-Canel, ordered an attack. But President Trump and the NSA dismissed the idea as unnecessarily provocative and instead opted to bolster GITMO's defenses. On May 13th, the USS Preble, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer equipped with a 60 kilowatts laser capable of destroying drones, was retasked to Gitmo. The previous day, U.S. Army air defense specialists installed Patriot and THAAD interceptor batteries. And on May 10th, 13 flights departed Leeward Point Airfield, each carrying non-essential persons to safer shores in Florida. Tensions are high, but if it comes, we're ready, our source said. If they attack us, it'll be the last mistake Cuba ever makes. We have no corporate advertisers, nor billionaire philanthropists looking to support efforts to expose the deep state's evil agenda. Every donation, irrespective of the amount, is appreciated and helps ensure our survival in these perilous times.
Okay, those are off News Force. Got them just a little bit ago. I got two Kennedy. I got one Trish I want to get to.
Be the same climate defiance that called
9 minutes.
Senator Joe Biden, quote, a sick fuck?
I don't know, but as I
Would this
mentioned
be
in my-
the same climate defiance that called Senator Lisa Murkowski a murderer?
I do not know. As I said in my statement,
Would this be the same climate defiance who
Here we go again.
told the CEO of Exxon to, quote,
Senator John Kennedy walked into that Senate hearing with a folder and a simple promise, yes or no questions. Dr. Cohen and Dr. Supran walked in as expert witnesses ready to defend Biden's energy record and climate policy. What followed is what happens when two academics who spent years putting their ideology in writing sit across from a senator from Louisiana who actually read it. Subscribe. Let's roll the tape.
Reduction Act. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Well, I do. $1.2 trillion. Green New Deal. No Republicans voted for. You want to amend your answer?
I'll amend my answer that under President Trump and under President Biden, trillions of dollars were infused into the economy
under Trump
and contributed
went
to
up 5%
inflation.
over 4 years, and under Biden they went up 30% over 3 years. Which is better?
Say again, under Trump, please.
Under Trump, electricity prices went up 5%. Under Biden, they went up 30% over 3 years. Which is better?
Well, clearly, lower rise in electricity prices better.
All right.
However,
Dr. Supran, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
You're here at the request of my Democratic colleagues?
No, sir.
No,
one
Dr.
more.
Supran.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Dr. Supran, on December 14, 2023, you tweeted in support of climate defiance. That's an entity that the Brookings Institute has called a radical climate change group. Is that correct?
I don't recall, I'm afraid.
Okay. Would this be the same climate defiance that I'm looking at your tweet, you tweeted in support of them. Would this be the same climate defiance that called Senator Joe Biden, quote, a sick fuck?
I don't know, but as I
Would this
mentioned
be
in my-
the same climate defiance that called Senator Lisa Murkowski a murderer?
I do not know. As I said in my statement,
Would this be the same climate defiance who told the CEO of Exxon to, quote, eat shit, Darren, close quote?
I'm not responsible for the statements of other
Nice
people.
group you're
and I also
hanging
do not know
around
the
with,
answer.
Doc. Here's what your tweet says, quote, we do, in support of climate defiance, we do not do online petitions. We do not do NGO coalition letters. We do not do fucking bus stop ads. We chase fossil fuel CEOs and the politicians who do their bidding, and we do not apologize, close quote. Did I read that correctly?
That is not my tweet, sir.
That is your tweet. I'm looking at it.
believe
Got
this
here's
is.
a copy right
Lying
here.
all
It's right off
time.
your it's right off your website, Biggest Dallas. On
I'm almost
October
certain that is not
31,
my tweet, sir.
2023, you said this on Twitter. Quote, climate justice was coined by our movements to locate it as a struggle against genocidal racial injustice, colonialism, and apartheid. If your climate justice doesn't stand with the Palestinians against colonialism and apartheid, then your climate justice has no justice in it, close quote. Did you say that?
I believe not.
Here it is,
May
bigger than Dallas.
I please see the document?
Yes, sir, and the witnesses' documents there.
Oh my
May I please
God.
point out that this form
The
of
senator's time has expired and there are other senators waiting.
I've got a bunch more tweets. Thank you for your objective
I'm
advice,
sure you
Doc.
do. You can put them into a question for the record and.
Yes,
they'll
I'd
have
like to
unresponded
submit
reply.
all of the good doctors' objective tweets and scientific analysis for the record.
That
Thank
will
you.
be done without objection. Senator Merkley,
May I clarify one final point?
proceed.
These are not my tweets. These are retweets. It's an important
Oh, you
contradiction.
often retweet stuff you don't support? Is that what you're telling me, Doc?
I did not say that I don't support this. I simply did not tweet it, which, as you were
But you
alleging.
retweeted
I'd
them,
like
didn't
to
you?
make very clear that this
But
form
you
of character
retweeted them,
assassination
didn't
is
you?
characteristic of the propaganda techniques
You
of fossil fuel
you
interest.
retweeted
Senator
it,
Merkley.
didn't you?
Thank you.
Are you going to call me a sick fuck?
It's Senator Merkley's time.
If you're conservative using big tech that donates to
Okay, that was. We'll get to the second one here. 9 minutes.
Told me, and you're smart, and I don't want to make this more complicated than it is. You're speaking like a lawyer, okay? Mr.
Hey,
Cox, I
what?
don't mean to be rude. The
Coming in.
importance of precedent and all that. I don't want to answer
That's
my
what we're
question,
challenging.
Mr. Cox.
I'm answering your question. It
No,
may
you're
not,
not.
it may be an answer that you
No,
don't
you're
like, and my
not.
colleagues don't.
No, you're not.
But I'm answering
You're
your
not.
question.
You're giving us another lecture, and this is not a common law class. Tell me in simple terms, is that not what the court said? Let me put it another way. Do you think race should be used to help a person? Do you think race should be used to harm a person?
Senator Kennedy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Grime, am I saying your name right?
You are, Senator.
You argued the Calais case?
I did.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my understanding of the case. And then, Mr. Cox, I'm going to ask you to tell me if Mr. Graham got it right. And Mr. Chamberlain, you can chime in if you would like. Are you familiar, Mr. Graham, with the Students for Fair Admissions case?
I am.
Okay, that's the case recently where the Supreme Court said you can't use race in college admissions. Now, here's what I heard the Supreme Court say in that case. I heard the Supreme Court say, look, colleges, we're not going to get into the admissions business. That's your business. We're just telling you, you can't use race as a factor to admit anybody. Is that your understanding of the case?
Basically, yes. And they did a whole 14th Amendment.
Don't try to muddy the water to make it look deep, guys. I know you're all smart. I'm just trying to get to the bottom line. Am I wrong or right?
You're right.
Okay. Now, the way I read Calais is the Supreme Court is saying, look, these, first of all, these are political questions. And we're not going to tell the states how to draw congressional districts. We don't want to be in that business. That's a political question. We're just saying you can't use race as a factor. Is that what they did in Calais, or am I misunderstanding?
That's basically it. You can use it to remedy, past discrimination that you've proven. But that wasn't the case in the Calais case. The other side didn't prove it.
Well, but this, once again, you're muddying that water, man. Did the court, or did it not, say that you can't use race to draw a congressional district?
In most cases, you can't unless the state, the person defending the map, shows that they had to use it because there was a showing of immediately past intentional discrimination, that they had to use race to unwind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me whether he got it right, Mr. Cox.
Senator, quite frankly, the defense of the Calais case is such a tortured exercise. It's
Mr.
difficult.
Cox, I don't want to hear.
So I'm going
lecture.
to tell you what
I want you to
SFFA,
answer
how
my
SFFA
question.
applies to Calais.
Did he get it right, or
He did not get it right. So in under application of to discuss Calais, you have to really discuss what happened in the case that created the district that was challenged in Calais. That was Robinson.
All right.
The court required the state of Louisiana to redraw its plans pursuant to its findings of a Section 2 violation.
Look, I don't
That's
want to
what
have a fight.
justified the creation of
I
the
don't want
plan.
to have a fight. Can you just tell me? And you're smart, and I don't want to make this more complicated than it is. Tell me what he got right or wrong.
I'm telling you, what he got wrong was ignoring.
No, you're speaking like a lawyer, okay? And I'm tired of, I've listened to you gentlemen, okay? Let's just get down to it. Mr. Chamberlain, tell me what Mr. Graham got right or wrong.
He got it all right. You think I'm really going to tell the guy who argued and won Calais that he didn't understand what he was arguing?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm totally respectful. Yeah, obviously, I think he's got a good handle on it.
I understand that, Mr. Cox. I don't mean to be rude, the importance of precedent and all that. But didn't the Supreme Court say, except in very narrow circumstances, you just can't use race to help a person, and you can't use race to harm a person? And that includes in drawing congressional districts?
In answering that question, I'm going to tell you that the Robinson Court, which gave rise to the district that was challenged in Calais, said that there was a violation of the Voting Rights Act, that it was required to draw a district or draw a redistricting plan that satisfied the Voting Rights Act, that allowed African Americans to elect candidates of choice.
You don't want to answer
that's
my
what was
question, do
challenged.
you, Mr. Cox?
I'm answering your question.
No, you're not.
Maybe an answer that you
No,
don't
you're
like or my
not.
colleagues don't.
No, you're not.
But I'm answering
You're
your
not.
question.
You're giving us another lecture, and this is not a common law class. Tell me in simple terms, is that not what the court said?
The court said a lot of things inaccurate. So that court said you can't use race at all in drawing plans. We disagree with that. But what the court really did was say you can prove race you can prove there's racial discrimination, which is in violation of this Congress's intent. It also sprinkled partisanship as a defense for any challenge to any challenge under Section 2.
All right, well, I'm about out of time. I can see no disrespect, Mr. Cox, but you're not answering any of my questions. And I know you're disappointed in the decision. But let me put it another way. Do you think race should be used to help a person?
I understand that question. Race should be
Sure
used
you
to help
do. Do you
a
think
person.
race should be used to help a person?
I believe that if there is a racial violation of the law, that race discrimination, I believe a remedy that's race conscious can be required. Yes.
Do you think race should be used to harm a person?
I don't really understand what that question
No, I
means.
didn't think you would. Mr. Chamberlain, do you think it's fair in America to use race to help a person at the expense of other races?
No.
Do you think it's fair in America to use race to hurt another person?
No.
How about you, Mr. Graham?
Absolutely not. Race should not be used to help or hurt an individual.
And no disrespect to Mr. Cox. He's very bright. I can see that. And I've been where you've been. You know, when you get in front of a court of appeal and you're losing, you know, you want to kind of obfuscate. I get it. But that to me is what the court's saying here in all these cases. We're not going to try to run your business. Not in the college admissions, not in drawn districts. But you can't use race. Period. End of discussion. And I think that's what the Constitution says and what most Americans support. I know you're disappointed, Mr. Cox.
I'm not disappointed. I'm outraged.
But that's what the Constitution says.
Well, can I add one more thing that's not quite exactly addressing what you asked? I do think there's a role for a co-equal branch of government, Congress, to make its own determination regarding how it wants its laws enforced. And I would urge this Congress to reconsider Calais in that light.
Yeah, but you and I are both aware that the United States Supreme Court has full authority to pass on the constitutionality of a statute. Come on, you know that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
If Mobile versus Bolden is any example of what can and can't happen, this Congress can take a look at Calais and say, actually, you got it wrong. And you actually didn't interpret what we intended in 1982 correctly.
The problem with your argument is I don't think race should be used to help a person because of his race. And I don't think race should be used to harm a person because of his or her race. And I think that's what most Americans believe. And if you don't believe the opposite, and you clearly do, this is America. You can believe what you want. But the Supreme Court is deciding these cases.
I hear you.
Saying race is off the table.
I hear you. And I believe as a civil rights lawyer that if you find a violation based on race, you need to craft a remedy that addresses that.
Sure.
Senator Whitehouse. Senator Whitehouse.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Eric.
Okay, we got two more, you guys. I got a 14-minute Trish video and a 10-minute one from a meeting in the Congress room. I don't know what.
Cars while staying within budget and Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy
You got
Trace, and in
here.
today's video, I bet Ilhan Omar did not expect things to go the way that they went in today's video. Just take a listen to this. We're gonna hop straight into today's video and pay close attention to some things that are being said in today's video, because some individuals are just too far gone. I mean, they're just too far from reality. The things that they say and do just does not resonate well with a lot of people. It doesn't, you know. And think about this. I kind of question, if President Trump and his administration wasn't elected, do you guys think that we would know some of the things that we know now? Like all of the alleged fraud that's been happening over in Minnesota, and how some individuals are not speaking out about that. They're trying to shift the focus off of them. Just take a listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, sorry to belabor this. I know so many people on both sides of the aisle have asked you about the department's decision to remove nursing, teaching, social work, and other critical occupations from the definition of professional degrees and capping their ability to receive federal loans. I know that in my home state of Minnesota, we're expecting to face a shortage of 30,000 nurses in the next 4 years. And I know that your home state of North Carolina, it is expected to see a shortage of 13,000. Our nurses obviously are limited in their capacity, they're overworked, and they're worried. So I know you said the decision is final, but I'm just trying to figure out if you can answer, why did you move forward with an action that you know is going to be creating a problem or worse?
I find it so interesting how some are questioning individuals and they want them to answer certain questions. But when certain individuals are questioned about certain things that have allegedly taken place over these last few years, they don't want to answer those questions. So they're looking for answers, but they don't want to give answers. You see how that works? Crazy.
Problem that already exists.
Well, first of all, let me correct one thing. We did not remove any of these professions from a professional category. They were never characterized in the law, in the statute, as a professional category. So as these caps were put into place, and many professions were then being reviewed as to what constituted a professional category, guided by the definition of a professional degree from Congress. So that was the overview that we looked at as we were writing this new rulemaking, with the overall goal of putting caps in place that are going to reduce the cost of college.
How is that happening?
Well,
all right, I just got to call something out for what it is, because this right here, I just don't understand, right? All right, so when someone asks you a question, what should be their next move? They should be quiet. They should be listening. They should let you finish answering the question and then wait to respond when you're done.
Right.
When individuals are interrupted, I just don't like it, because let them finish speaking. Hear them out. Listen to their answers. When someone is interrupted, it's just because, you know, they pull out one thing and they just want them to talk about that. Just let them finish speaking. Then maybe some sense will come through. But individuals, I feel like they want to run far away from common sense because of the things that they have been doing, the things that they say. Let her finish speaking. Please stop interrupting.
I have a couple of articles here already that there are colleges.
What do they say?
They are saying that they are looking at reducing the cost of their graduate program.
I know, but looking is not addressing the problem that we're currently seeing. What I am asking you is that you've made a decision that is currently making the problem worse.
That is not correct. Let me push back on that.
Are you saying the numbers in Minnesota that we're seeing or in North Carolina are not real?
Well, what I'm
I really do not like when some try to overtalk individuals when they ask them a question and don't let them speak. Let them finish talking so you can hear their point. She is literally trying to finish answering the questions that are being given, but yet she won't let her finish answering the question. This right here, I just don't like it. You know, because if I asked you a question, I'm gonna wait till you finish responding. Do some others have that respect as well? Let's continue.
to you is there are shortages in those states, primarily in the undergraduate nursing program, which is not affected by this new rule and this new cap. Undergraduate programs are not affected at all by this.
I know,
cap.
but
These
can
are
you
only
can
graduate
you
programs? So the shortage is not a result of this cap being put on. The shortage of nursing is that we don't have enough applicants into the nursing programs that are coming through our universities.
so instead of helping with the problem, you've decided to
No, and
make it
there's,
worse?
I don't think you were in when I talked about another way to get to an RN.
God, how much longer do we have to put up with her? Oh my God.
An expedited program, you can get a 2-year certificate and then take the exam to
I
become
know
an
my
RN.
sisters are nurses.
And if-
I do know how those things work.
and if
I'm
you
asking
do-
you about the specific classification that you created that lowers the cap.
we didn't remove them
That's-
from a professional designation.
I know, but address the cap issue when it comes to the,
I just did because I said it
Professionals I
does
just
not
talked about.
impact.
but you said you were trying
undergraduate
to
program.
lower the cost of tuition. How does
Absolutely.
that happen?
Because there are already colleges that are lowering the cost of their graduate programs because
What are those colleges?
there's a college in California, University of California in Irvine, and Purdue University in Indiana.
And is it for business or for
They have
nursing?
lowered them right now and for their business programs. I
Yeah,
hope
but we're
that they'll-
talking about nursing, ma'am.
Well, I hope that they'll look at other programs to
Because
reduce their
business is not
costs.
something that you had an impact on.
I don't have control over which programs they're doing, but if they have fewer applicants coming into their universities and they realize part of the reason is because their cost is too high, they will lower those costs.
Well, it just seems like to me that certain individuals do not like the way that certain questions are being answered because they're trying to get that little gotcha moment. I'm sure most of you guys see like how interviews work and how individuals try to get that gotcha moment so that they can just run with it. But in my opinion, if someone is asking you a question, they should let you finish answering that question. Ilhan Omar just didn't like the response that she was getting in today's video. She didn't like the answers that she was getting in today's video.
Okay, I want to finish off. See how this one is with Trisha. This is the last one.
Actually happening beneath.
I'm calling it the Massey Massacre because this guy deserved what he got, and he got it in spades.
14 minutes.
You know, I didn't like where he was going with a lot of stuff. I didn't like the rhetoric that I was hearing from him. I don't know what it was about. I mean, was he suddenly turning into a Democrat? Or was he trying to commandeer all the attention for himself? I think MTG, she pulled one of those, right? And you know where she landed. Well, this is becoming kind of a thing. Cassidy found out in Louisiana. Thomas Massey finding out in Kentucky. And, you know, my friend Doug Schoen, who is a very smart Democrat strategist. Yeah, you know, I got friends that are Democrats. I got family members that are Democrats. Hey, you know, we're all one big happy. Well, I look at things perhaps differently than they do. And I'm a little more sensitive to their feelings perhaps than some of them are. But this one, he's one of the good ones. Okay. Doug Schoen, he actually ran the Bloomberg campaign at one point. But Doug is really smart. And he's making the point here. I want to show you this clip from Laura Ingram's show last night on Fox. He's making the point that, you know what, this is big. Okay. This is big. This actually speaks volumes about how this movement is coalescing around one central figure, right? MAGA is united, not divided, despite the fact that so many have tried to divide us. And believe me, they're still trying today with their crazy schemes. But Doug Schoen, he hits the nail on the head. Listen to him.
Sends a message to the entire Republican Party and indeed the entire country, as I was saying before, that the power of the Trump brand to motivate voters, in this instance, 12-year incumbent beaten by a newcomer because of the Trump endorsement. And I think my party would make a very big mistake underestimating the power of the Trump brand and the fact that, as you say correctly, he has not lost a primary yet. He wins Louisiana. He wins the Kentucky Senate primary, and now this key House race. So I don't think this can be overestimated, Laura.
Yeah, and no, it cannot be overestimated. I told you yesterday, look, it's hard, right? Like if you're an incumbent, typically incumbents, they have every advantage in the book. I mean, the only thing his opponent really had going for him was that he was standing with Trump. And Massey clearly wasn't. I mean, Massey was just like knocking him. And it was like weird. Okay. Like, you're like kind of with us or against us at this point, considering what Hakeem Jeffries wants to do to us all. I'll play that. I played it for some of you yesterday, but it's worth hearing because I think we need to remind ourselves what we are up against. And when you have the Thomas Masseys of the world, the MTGs or the podcasters out there in podcast land that just want to kind of suck up all the oxygen for themselves, you got to remember we need to stay united. Now you can have your differences, and believe me, I do. And you hear about them, but I still have my eyes on the prize. Thank you very much. I still want to make sure that we have conservatives in the White House, because what's the alternative? I mean, we're going to wind up like Cuba, for goodness sakes. What is the alternative? You tell me. Consider what's going down in New York City with Mr. Mamdani, Comrade Mamdani, as I should call him. You got AOC, who's top of the ticket now for the Democrats. Gavin's getting kind of Newsom, but it's a toss-up. Gavin, the communist, or AOC, the communist. In other words, we got to be loyal to our values and loyal to the guy that brought us to the dance, right? Like we have come so far and we're going to squander that on the likes of Thomas Massey. I don't think so. Who by the way, kind of, I'm sick of the anti-Semitism. This just kind of disgusts me. And it's like over and over and over again with this guy. Look, we are united together. We are a party that believes in opportunity for everyone. We don't like the, the racist nonsense and the anti-women nonsense and the, anti-Jew nonsense. I mean, this guy, he's bad news, bad news. And we need to cleanse our party of the likes of him very fast. Listen to this jerk. I mean, getting up there in his acceptance speech and saying this.
I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede. And it took a while to find Ed Galrine in Tel Aviv.
What a jerk. You see, he just can't. I mean, what a stupid loser. Well, he's literally a loser. Yeah, he lost. Woohoo! Okay, you know what? Because at the end of the day, conservatives are about so much more than the likes of Thomas Massey or MTG or even, I don't know, Tucker Carlson, who thinks maybe he might have a political career one day if he doesn't wind up getting caught as some kind of, I don't know, agent who forgot to register. The FBI was apparently investigating him for that. I'd like to see where that one goes. Innocent until proven guilty. I hope he is, but I'm just saying, you got a few of these guys out there that make me wonder. And again, let's go back to Massey here. I mean, he was even bringing it up like hours before people were going, the polls were going to close, and he's bringing it up on Fox again. We don't have that one, but that's okay because I played it for you guys yesterday. You're welcome to go back and watch it. Although he's kind of yesterday's news. I mean, if you think about it, right? He's totally yesterday's news, and we don't really need to worry about him, except we need to think about the likes of him and who they are and where they are and the damage that they're trying to do to this wonderful, great movement that is setting us up for a much better future for years and years and years to come. Because the alternative, as we have discussed, is frankly communism. Just look at what's going down with the city-owned grocery stores that they're trying to debut in New York City, where Mamdani is going to decide what you're going to eat for dinner tonight. No. I don't want to live in that kind of America. You don't want to live in that kind of America. Hakeem Jeffries wants to live in that kind of America where he and Mamdani and AOC and all his little buddies are controlling everything you do, everything you say, everything you have.
I guess part of how we as House Democrats view this moment, either MAGA extremists are going to break the country or we're going to break them. And our goal is to break them. We will defeat them. We have to beat them electorally, and then we have to break their spirit because of the extremism that's being unleashed on the American people. That's completely and totally unacceptable.
You know what's unacceptable? That you think you need to break someone. That's kind of unacceptable. I mean, that kind of rhetoric is just disgusting. And this is what we're up against. I mean, this is why, you know what? We have to take this very seriously. And we are taking it seriously. And the president took this very seriously. And I will tell you this, enemies everywhere are panicking at this moment because they know the power.
Hi, it's Mark Elias, and I need a few seconds of your time to explain why your donation to support House Democrats
Of the MAGA movement, they know the power of Donald Trump. And you know what? This is a president who's willing to work with anyone. I got to tell you this, guys. You know, he's actually very simple and he's very straightforward. And he's like, wait, can we make money? Is somebody willing to work hard and make money for America? Is this like a system that can work better? I mean, he's a realist, okay? Completely 1,000% a realist, unlike the Democrats, which don't really seem to have any goals that at least you and I can totally understand, right? Because they want boys playing women's sports, okay? Like, what's the goal in that one, right? There's no common sense whatsoever. They're twisting everything to try and come up with some insane outcome that's really a derivative, if you ask me, of Marxism. And that's where that one's going. But you know what? We got a businessman as president, and he's simple and he's easy. And he's like, just, okay, let's make money together. Let's grow GDP. Let's keep people employed. Let's make sure America has the healthiest economy we can possibly have, which is why this one's great, because Jeff Bezos, of course, who's brilliant and started Amazon, and regardless of what you think about Amazon, I mean, that's one smart guy. Can we just say one smart guy? And everybody took him for a liberal. I mean, maybe he kind of got his, how shall we say, his due when AOC decided that he wasn't going to put those $100,000 jobs, $200,000 jobs in Queens. No, he was going to build a warehouse. He's like, whew, thank goodness I dodged that bullet, right? But he was going to build that warehouse in Queens until AOC stopped it. And maybe that was the first inkling he had, that he maybe need to do a little soul searching and figure out where his life was heading in terms of his political allegiance. But he went on CNBC this morning, and the reporter, who tends to be a little bit of a lefty, Andrew Ross Sorkin at the New York Times, also doubles, duty at CNBC. And he went on and he asked Bezos, like, are you sure you like this president? He kept like trying to get at him. And I want to show you this clip because Bezos wasn't having it. He didn't fall for it. And what he says in the end is so important. And I want you to remember, and I know this president remembers, and it's what we all have to remember right now.
But just one, he was not the president yet. And I'd asked you what you thought of him at the time. And you said that you thought that he had mellowed, that he was calmer.
Yeah.
And I'm curious now, here we are.
Yeah, I still think that.
2 years later,
yeah,
we've had lots of with wars and tariffs and all sorts of things that have happened since then. What do you think?
I think he has. I mean, I'm comparing him to his first term.
Yeah.
And I think he is a more mature, more disciplined version of himself than he was in his first term. And, he's, again, I've worked with all the presidents. I will work with all the presidents, and I hope to do that going forward if they'll have me. But we need our business leaders to provide input into the administration, regardless of who the president is. I'm not on the side. Yeah. You know what? I'm on the side of America.
You heard that? I'm on the side of America. Period. Full stop. So you can keep trying to get me to say something. You know what? None of that matters. Politics at the end of the day doesn't matter if you don't have a strong country. So we need to be on the side of America. And that's what Donald Trump understands as well, even though he doesn't get enough credit for it, really ever. But you know, I love this because this week you saw Mark Cuban, who was like his mortal enemy, right? While he was campaigning. I mean, Mark Cuban couldn't fall over himself enough for one Kamala Harris. And yet, you want to know who's embracing his new drug platform to bring lower prices to everyday Americans? None other than one Donald Trump. Again, proving that, you know what, when it comes to improving the lives of everyday Americans, when it comes to improving the likes of this economy, we don't need to be political, but there's only one person for some reason, well, a few people in the business community, right? Like Bezos and like Cuban, that are willing to say, forget about that. We don't need to be such political animals because we're all in this for the right reasons. We're capitalists, and we want the best for America and the country. Watch.
Thank you for having me, Mr. President. I think other than you, I've been the biggest proponent of TrumpRx.com. And the reason for that is Republicans want cheaper drugs, independents want cheaper drugs, Democrats want cheaper drugs. And together, I think we're going to do something special. What makes Cost Plus Drugs different is that when you click through Trump RX to our site, not only will you see a great price, but you'll see our actual cost and that we only mark it up 15%. And what makes this incredible, Mr. President, all the volume and all the people that are going to come from the site, as our volumes go up, our costs go down, which means we'll be ending up charging less to people over a period of time. So this is a special announcement. This is a special partnership. 559 of those drugs are ours. So we're really excited to be part of this. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll turn it over to Chris Klopp.
You know what else happened there in that little moment there was the president was asked about Mark Cuban specifically, like, how can you do business with him, right? Like, how can you do this? He was after you nonstop. And you know what he did? He laughed. And he said, well, now he's got some sense in him. I mean, again, like, this is not the kind of stuff that, say, the Massies of the world could do. But I will tell you this, they're going to come climbing back. All of them. Be prepared for it. And I'm talking about the little podcast community as well that thinks that they're going to get clicks and more clicks, right? They're all going to come crawling back. No, screaming back. I love Trump. I love Trump. I love Trump. I love Trump. I love. It's like, guys, enough. Okay. We don't trust you. We don't trust you. They lie through their teeth. Why? Because they want ratings and they think it's going to work. But you know what? This president is committed to a better future for America. Americans who are committed to a better future for America are going to be with this president, period, full stop. And we can have our differences. I encourage everybody to have our differences. But when push comes to shove, and you're really trying to make the kind of impact that some people like the Massies of the world or the Cassidys with voting for impeachment, or whether it be MTG with all her nonsense, or the podcasting community, you know what? I've had it. I've had it with all of you. And you can come climbing back. We're not going to be here for you. We're not going to believe one single bit of it.
Okay, that's Trisha to end the show with for tonight. So we got a lot of good stuff out. Another day of good intel, but waiting on the big stuff. Hopefully, the big stuff will be coming more. Thanks, Boz. Okay, there you go, Lucy, Carol, Tim, and so winding down for Wednesday evening. It's me. Of us around, all, please hit the like, stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, don't give up. Signing off, Chico and Noon for another night of intel, and we'll see you tomorrow, Thursday.